we're taking a deep dive on the conversation around security, particularly on the attack that happened in Plateau State that saw the death of a pastor, his wife, and 4 others. Joining us to discuss this is Mr. Dennis Amakri, who is a former state security operative. He joins us via Zoom from the United States. Thank you so much, Mr. Amakri, for joining us this morning. We know that you've made quite a sacrifice to be with us on the program this morning. It's appreciated. Just to ask you, I know that you must also, and I believe that that is what has driven your concern and your acceptance to speak on this topic, which is this new wave of attacks that we've just seen in Nigeria. One of it is what has happened in Plateau State. Don't forget that just last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, there was an attack in Angwan Rukuba, which saw the death of a number of people. Shortly after, there was another attack. As a matter of fact, a day after the president visited, Plateau State to commiserate with them, there was another attack. There have been several more before this one, which has now involved the death of a pastor and his wife. I'm just a little curious. What is your own reading of what is currently happening? Does it look like we still have a handle on response to this current crisis we're going through?
Yes, so thank you for having me. Yes, we have a handle. I think the armed forces and the security group are doing the best they could. But see, we're dealing with a very, very wide situation, and I think people need to understand that this is asymmetric. So we don't really have an army that the Nigerian military is fighting against. And then when you look at it, the one in Adamawa State, I think, is pure terrorism, where we have insurgents from the Islamic State of West Africa, going around and attacking very rural areas where, there is no law enforcement. Basically, some of these local government areas are ungoverned because we don't have any law enforcement presence in those areas. If you remember very well, in this very particular Gombe local government where this happened, was one of the areas where during Jonathan's period, they had these insurgents that he sent mercenaries to go and fight and then, of course, drive away before the elections were held. And then, of course, the one in Plateau State, it's a persistent one. It's not terrorism. That one is not terrorism, but of course we might discuss it later.
I don't know whether you want to tell us what it is, because as far as Nigerians are concerned, they're being terrorized. That has changed. When the Angwan Rukuba attacks happened, for a number of people, that changed the plans. We do know that, Plateau State prides itself, has won the toga of the state for tourism and peace. But as a result of this new wave of attacks, it's unclear how much tourism and how much peace the state is really enjoying. So do you care to tell us what exactly the name that has been given to what is happening on the plateau is?
Yes, what is happening on the plateau is, and I commend the governor for doing a lot, what is happening right now before was titled Herders Farmers Clash, where herders and farmers were clashing because of limited land resources and water. But I think it goes deeper. I think that threat itself has changed color. And right now, what we have actually, the root causes and what is happening on the plateau is illegal mining. Illegal mining by people who are coming even from foreigners. Foreigners are there in the state trying to harass the people that are sitting on top of serious mineral resources like columbite and other resources. And these people have recognized these locations and they come and kill the people, and when those people run away or the remaining will end up in IDP camps, they go ahead and start mining the resources. So I think the governor has even gone ahead to set up a 14-man committee to make sure that, they come up with a framework to address or to see the establishment of state police, because they believe strongly that with the presence of law enforcement at the local level, I think some of these things could stop.
You know, in your first response to me, you did say that security has a handle on this. I'm sure a lot of Nigerians who are watching will be saying, what handle? If they did have a handle, why are we seeing this number of killings, and this murderous range? You have also said that what is happening is because we have a lot of ungoverned spaces. These people are attacking vulnerable communities. They're seeking out places where there is very little law enforcement, and they're attacking these places. From your own assessment, because these are things that we have now known for years. In the start of the Boko Haram crisis in 2009, this was very well known. After we, put the military to the task, security was, beg your pardon, DSS, that's the SSS, however it is you want to name them, were put to the task, policemen put to the task, etc. But we now realize that, there's a shortage. We have a shortage of manpower. Each president that has come will say, we're going to recruit people into the military, we're going to recruit people into the police. Now the discussions around state police so that we can have many more people. Do you think that we have had this conversation like a people who believe that their country is under siege and that we need to act even more decisively? Have we handled this in a manner that shows that there is a state of emergency that needs to be declared on the safety of lives and property of Nigerians?
Okay, why I said that the security people have a handle on it, I was particularly referring to Plateau State, because the governor had done something about it. And I think that is the kind of thing that I think we want to see across the country. Two governors who are doing very well, are the Borno State governor. I think I give him kudos for his activity there. And then, of course, the Plateau State governor has come up to do a lot because everybody just sit down and look up to the federal government to provide. And then, of course, they wait until it happens. Then they go to Abuja to go and talk about, security to come to their state. But they are actually responsible. And this particular state governor in Plateau has done a lot. This 14-man committee he has set up is really looking into it, because when we form state police, and train them properly, because it's not just forming state police like we have state commands. The state police is an independent police organization of its own, and then, of course, well-trained and equipped to do what they have to do. And if we really need them to work, I think the governors have to give it more attention. And I think the committee will do a good job and get this thing out of our hair, because I think it's taking more than 18 years and we've been fighting the insurgency. And of course, inside we are fighting this illegal mining.
Mr. McCree, I'm unclear as to what a 14-man committee can do to make a difference. I do know that if we are to say that the crisis on the plateau is a little different from what has happened in Borno State in the sense that what causes it. So you have farmer herders crisis, which they have denounced and said there's no such thing. You've also had this indigene settler dichotomy that exists on the plateau. You've had different administrations have come up with different solutions. So, for instance, the past administration headed by Lalong achieved some level of peace. And what they did was that they set up an institution to help mediate peace during his time. To be honest, they did record some certain level of success because the crisis came down. But it's unclear now what is causing the flare-up. I am a little uncertain as to what difference, I'm sure a lot of Nigerians are also asking that question, what difference can a 14-man committee make to the things that you have listed? Because right now you said there's another angle, which is mining involved in this. What are your hopes? Because in the meantime, lives are being lost.
Yes. The 14-man committee, I think the governor took time to select that committee. To select that committee. I think the chairman is DIG Abila, a very experienced police officer, retired DIG. We have retired generals in that particular committee. And then of course they have academics who are going to talk about policy and all the rest. So you see what they are doing right now is trying to make sure that the framework is properly grounded. And I will recommend it to other states, because most states are sitting down there waiting while they wait for the National Assembly to do the amendments in the Constitution. They are waiting and sitting down. This is the time for them to sit back and then, of course, start preparing, and what they are doing right now is that they are going to address those problems that they have identified, and state police will work more effectively because two state police will not be the same. A state police for Lagos State will be different from the one in Plateau State, because Plateau State Police is being now, trying to be established to address those problems of Plateau State. So the state policies are going to be different and they are going to do different jobs. So if they are going to address the illegal mining, I think they have to work with the federal government, because we have a Ministry of Solid Minerals. And I don't see why they are giving licenses to some people, even foreigners, to come into Nigeria and be mining while they are making problems for the localities, So I think that's something that we have to look at strongly. Either suspend all this mining situation and then, of course, let the law take its form before you give licenses to particular people, because it is having an international dimension now.
Well, Mr. Makri, is it a tenable, strong enough opinion to say it's because of mining activities that insecurity is spiking? Because, if you would remember, it's the same conversation we've been having about oil theft in the Niger Delta for decades. And somehow, between the community and various governments, federal and state, the issues in the Niger Delta have abated. Over the years, even before this administration came on board, I think from as far back as the Jonathan administration, we've been talking about illegal mining and all of that. And these things existed in the Niger Delta as well, and it was paid to. So it begs a lot of questions. So if we say, for instance, maybe in Adamawa, the issue is illegal mining. This is not the same thing in Kwara. It's not the same thing in Plateau State. So I'm wondering where that is going. You may want to respond to that in the light of this. You've told us before that every state in Nigeria, every local government has a DSS official. Are they still there? Or do they receive new brief? Or is it that they don't get the intelligence before these attacks happen?
To answer that last question, yes, they do. They even have up to the local government level. There is a local government security chief. Just like they have a DPO too for local governments. But you find out that now you have a local government, and then the local government, some of them are big, some of them are restricted to their local government headquarters. And then, of course, in some rural governments, like let me say, when I was serving in Jalingo, which is Taraba State, we have some local governments that are so far away. And you find out that even some of them, or even the local government chairman, don't stay in the local government. They come to the headquarters and stay there, hang around. When something happens, they call them, they go down there. So you find out that the management of the local government system is very poor, but these security people are there, and the security people have a responsibility to report to their offices,
So if we have security officials there, if we have the DSS there, as you have said, and they get this information, do they receive the intelligence reports that these things are going to happen?
Oh, definitely they do.
If they receive this information that these things are going to happen, I also understand you have also told us before that both at the local government level and at the state government level, they have security meetings. If they knew these things were going to happen, why, in your opinion, do you think they are unable to prevent the occurrence?
Now, one thing you have to understand is that having security meetings don't prevent insurgency. Of course, it defines the situation. They come to know that this is happening, or, their agents could tell them that these people are planning to attack, and then, of course, they will report. But, you are dealing with an asymmetric enemy. It doesn't
my apologies, Mr. Makri. My sincere apologies. If we know that it is going to happen, isn't the function of government to prevent the attacks and prevent unnecessary loss of lives and property?
Definitely. They have the responsibility to prevent. Now, you have, let's say, 23 local governments in a state. In that 23 local government, how many policemen do you have? Some local governments don't even have 5 policemen. And those 5 policemen are not well armed or trained to deal with insurgency. And that's why we're saying that, well, they have to be trained. If you watch, I've been saying it over and over again, that training is so important, to tackle terrorism. Because it's not a situation where you go and call army to come and tackle it. Policemen should be able to tackle it because they will be trained to deal with it. And that's how it happens in many other climes. So I think we have to hurry up on getting this security.
It is sounding a lot, Mr. Makri, my apologies again. It is sounding a lot like an unfortunate fulfillment of some kind of, should I say, prophecy or declaration that's been attributed to late General Abacha, that if insecurity persists beyond a certain time, maybe like 24 or 48 hours, the government or the state has a hand in it. In a way, it is sounding like be it the federal government or the state governments are aware, not just that these things will happen, they also know, because we've heard that said before, that the people who are behind these things are not unknown. They are not ghosts. Some of them are said to know. Does that mean that governments, be it federal or state, are collaborating or conniving directly or indirectly with these insurgents?
Ayo, I think we have discussed this many times. And I will give you a pointer. Insurgency has remained in Nigeria for more than 18 years now because people are involved in it. Even when Jonathan was saying that, look, we have insurgent supporters in my government. People thought that he was just making political statements, and those statements are very correct. And right now, even worse than before, there are elements in Nigeria who are financing, supporting, and in fact, dealing with these insurgent things, or even gaining from the criminal economy that insurgency has provided. It's a multi-billion naira economy. And basically, believe it or not, the minerals in Nigeria is even more than what oil is given to the militants. You know, we have the militant situation in Niger Delta. And don't forget, the militant situation is still very much alive in Niger Delta. Very much alive. Because you see, these minerals are not one that even government alone, you know, will be dealing with. And that's why you see that people in government sometimes are involved. And then, of course, you will ask, why is the government not dealing with it when they know this kind of people? The question is simple. There are some people that are in government or outside government, very powerful individuals, I know for sure, like in Zamfara, retired major generals who are involved in that situation. But you need the political will to deal with this. I've recommended it. When these things are happening and you have killings, people are simply busy. The politicians are busy trying to elect themselves, you know, into offices. I would suggest to the president, you know, that he can suspend all these electioneering campaigns and everything, and let's face the security issue and get rid of it. But, of course, the president have to have that political will we're talking about to do this.
Well, Mr. Makri, just one last thing. You've talked about the president. He's a politician. And you've talked about the fact that some powerful elements and individuals are always behind this thing. It is ironic that most of the time, during election period, we don't hear of these insecurity issues. How then would you say that the people should speak, be it with their voices or with their votes? Because there are people who have already said, why don't we just get people to arm themselves? What solution or stopgap would you recommend for the people, the communities themselves, so they can also stop crying unnecessarily?
Many people have suggested, even some state governors have even gone ahead to say that, you know, let's arm ourselves and protect ourselves, you know. And then, of course, I remember very well, the Director General of the SSS, DSS, had come out to also say that, you know, the communities are the first line of defense. And, you know, they should work with the security agencies to prefer, you know, local solutions on how to protect themselves. Now, during elections, you have most of these politicians also have their thugs who are, even later they call them bandits or whatever. Some of these guys are not insurgents. They are bandits working for politicians. And that's why we're saying that the president himself has to really take the bull by the horn to say, hey, what are we going to do? But like you said, he's a politician. So he is also weighing the pros and cons for his own party or his own supporters. But this is where we find ourselves, where, you know, people are taking advantage of the security of the country. You know, at this time, I think we have to, because like I said in other fora, when your house is burning, you are busy with politics, campaign, and all the rest. When the house burned down, which country are you going to now govern or be House of Rep or Senator for? You know, and I think that's the area that we have to redirect. The politicians have to redirect themselves.
I'm just a little curious. How do you think this is going to play out on the international scene? You did reference that there is still international attention on Nigeria. How is that going to play out with this new wave of attacks that we're seeing?
We have to really work on it. We have foreign support. We have the United States sending some people who are coming and working with the Nigerian security agencies in mapping some areas. You know, we have to remember also that this is not a situation where the insurgents or the bandits are having an upper hand, because the security agencies are really doing a lot. Of course, be that they are not well funded, and I think they should, but they are doing their best. This support we are having from international people are helping. The British government is really helping. They have been our natural allies for a very long time. So they are working. And of course, sometimes you find out, like recently in Borno State, what they are doing is that I think there is a panic measure that has been observed among the Boko Haram insurgents, because they find out that they've been dealing with them and then, of course, decimating them to an extent. And, of course, they'll resort to, you know, picking up soft targets, you know, around the communities.
Mr. Dennis Amakri, we have to thank you for speaking with us this morning. We do hope that we won't have to call you so frequently to discuss this issue of security, that it would really will witness a downward trend in the area of attacks. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Mr. Dennis Amakri is a former state security operative, and he's been speaking with us from the United States.
Thank you for having me.